Well, I really appreciate everyone joining us here today. It's obviously been a big political news hour, but it's a big political news hour here in Michigan as well, as we introduce this legislation to put the parameters of FOIA and the principles of FOIA to both the governor's office and the state legislature. I'm happy to be here. My name is Jeremy Moss. I'm state representative from Southfield. I've been working hand in hand with State Rep Ed McBroom here to my left. And I'm here with a group of both Democratic and Republican legislators. We've identified a nonpartisan problem here in state government, and we are concerned about the lack of openness and transparency. So here today, we're going to present a bipartisan solution to that problem. It's long past time that we have applied the principles of the Freedom of Information Act and other open government laws to the legislature and the governor's office. I'm a former Southfield city councilman, and I'm acutely aware of FOIA and its impact on government because we were under FOIA as a city councilman, a local unit of government. My very first city council meeting in 2011, after being elected several years ago, a gentleman came to City Hall to complain during public comment because city staff was giving him a hard time about getting planning documents for a planning project that was near his neighborhood, and he had requested those documents under FOIA. Ultimately, the city complied with his request with direction from the city council, but he was so agitated from that meeting forward that he has come to every single city council meeting as a self-appointed government watchdog. He hasn't missed a meeting in over 4 years. When we agitate our constituents by not being transparent and not being accessible, we look like we have something to hide, even when we don't. So if local municipalities can operate and comply with this law, then the state legislature and the governor should as well. And 48 other states make their state legislatures and governors subjected to transparency laws. It's time that Michigan joins those states. So today, we announced the expansion of FOIA to the governor's office and the creation of the new Legislative Open Records Act, or LORA, as you'll get used to the acronym. We are introducing these package of bills, which are 10 bills, House Bills 5469 through 5478. LORA would replicate the parameters of FOIA starting in 2017 to make sure that citizens and journalists, such as the group assembled here, can hold government accountable. This legislation strikes a balance between the public's right to know while respecting the privacy of constituents who want to confidentially share a personal issue or concern with their state legislator. So I'm proud to be a sponsor of one of the bills on this package and to have worked with Rep McBroom to draft LORA and expand FOIA. We've assembled this bipartisan group of legislators who have joined our efforts on this legislative package, and I look forward to working with them, my fellow lawmakers, not only on either side of the House chamber, but on both chambers. We're gathered with Senator O'Brien here today, and I want to urge, and Shootmaker, I apologize, and I want to urge all of our colleagues, both chambers, both sides of the aisle, to join us on this effort today. I want to introduce Rep McBroom, who will explain further the parameters of the FOIA expansion.
Thank you very much, Rep Moss, and thank you to everyone for coming today. It's been interesting. It's Sunshine Week, and yet it's pretty cloudy out there.
Yeah.
And I think you could make a little bit of that comparison to how Michigan's been. We've been getting F ratings when it comes to transparency in different national surveys. And we see ourselves standing out kind of like a sore thumb nationally when it comes to issues of government transparency. We've made significant strides over the last several years with openness of our office records, how much we, when it comes to spending, when it comes to salaries, all of those things have become open, but those are internal policies. And now to really put forward laws that make these things mandatory and then also further expand that to what is the actual transaction of the people's business that's going on, and how can they have access to that? How can they ask what we're doing with their taxpayer dollars to run our offices? What are we doing with our time? How are we serving them? Where are we at? Who are we meeting with? These are all things that other states and even at the federal level, there's a great deal more transparency than we've had thus far in Michigan. And so this expansion of FOIA for the governor's office and the creation of the Legislative Open Records Act for the legislature is a really important step forward, I believe. When I've been working here over the last several years in my two previous terms and hearing again and again that we are ranked F or lowest in the nation, or there were one of 2 states that are like this, it just was troubling to me. And there were several previous attempts made to introduce expansions of FOIA, but they all were fraught with certain legal or constitutional problems. And so I was able to speak with several of the sponsors in the past. It's been sponsored by either a Republican when they were in the minority or a Democrat when they were in the minority, and take those bills and begin to work on what's wrong with these. Why can't we actually do this? Why does Michigan have to continue to be the outlier? And I was really pleased to get a chance to know that Rep. Moss and others, but particularly Jeremy, were interested in seeing this problem solved. And as the chairman of oversight, it became really apparent to me that we could solve it. So it's been about 12 months worth of work.
Right.
And it's taken a long time. It's taken a lot of study of what other states are doing, what other governors' offices do. And I believe that we've come up with a great start. I'm sure there's going to be more discussion and some additional changes, but I believe that this is a really great step forward, and finally a set of bills that are actually within a legal operating framework. So I'm just glad that we're finally here. It's been a labor of love for 12 months.
That's right.
And I'm going to introduce Senator O'Brien, who's going to continue.
Well, thank you. It's an honor for Senator Shoemaker and I to join our House colleagues. When we saw the report that gave Michigan an F for transparency and openness of government, it started the conversation on the other side of the chamber. But the news media reported what Representatives Moss and McBroom, along with their colleagues, were working on, and so it seemed like it would be better when it comes to policy to join what was already in the process and what was moving faster along. But it's clear, transparency is the bedrock of good governance. And if we want to have a state and a nation that's guided by good governance, Michigan needs to be more open. We need to have Freedom of Information Act. And that's why it's an honor for us to be here and to join the great work that's been done by our colleagues under the leaderships of Representative McBroom, Representative Moss. And we look forward to working with our colleagues as the legislation moves through the House and goes over to the Senate. Thank you.
And I'll add that I had an interesting experience this Monday where I actually was speaking in front of a university class, and a young lady there who works in the FOIA department for a police department questioned. She said, why is it that a rape victim's complaint to the police department is subject to FOIA and yet my legislators aren't? And I thought that was a really interesting point, and something that was a perspective that I hadn't heard before, and a good reason to move this forward. And so when we look at the details here, I hope that you'll have some questions about it, but I'm going to give any other legislator who's part of this program what you see. We've got, I believe, 37 co-sponsors.
Yeah, this is an incredible cross-section of the legislature from both sides of the aisle assembled here to show truly that this is a nonpartisan problem that we've identified here, and we're working toward a bipartisan solution here. So I can't thank our colleagues enough for supporting our effort here today.